I told my boss if you give nothing, you get nothing. So I used to work quality control at this car parts factory. We made all the plastic pieces that go on the outside of cars, like bumpers and trim pieces. There was this one part we made that was super tricky. It had to look perfect because customers could see it on the finished car. And we used this crazy strong glue that would leave permanent white marks if you messed up even a tiny bit. The problem was, whenever we had to throw away a bad part, the regular workers would sneak it back onto my inspection rack. They'd try to slip it past me, hoping I wouldn't notice it was already damaged. So my boss came up with this rule. Every time I found a bad part, I had to physically break it in half. That way, nobody could try to put it back for inspection again. I'm talking about snapping these plastic pieces completely in two with my bare hands, breaking perfectly good-looking parts that just had tiny defects. Well, one day I'm doing my job, breaking these damaged parts like I'm supposed to, when the production director, Bill, walks by. This guy was basically the big boss of the whole factory floor. He sees me snapping this part in half and completely loses his mind, starts screaming at me in front of everyone about how I'm destroying company property and costing them money. He's yelling so loud that workers from other sections are stopping to watch. Bill's face is turning red and he's pointing at me going, "You're fired! Nobody breaks parts in my factory!" Then he storms off to find my boss to get me fired on the spot. 20 minutes later, here comes Bill walking back with his tail between his legs. Turns out my boss had to explain to him that breaking defective parts was literally company policy, that every single part I broke was already worthless scrap. Bill had to apologize to me in front of the same workers who watched him scream at me. It was so awkward. He clearly hated having to admit he was wrong. Fast forward about 3 years. The whole company is moving to a new building across town. They put up this huge chart on the wall showing when each department would go on their scheduled vacation so the machines could be moved while we were gone. Everything was planned out months in advance. When each person would leave, when they'd come back, the whole timeline. But then the engineering department screwed up. They scheduled our section's machines to be moved the week before we were supposed to go on vacation. So we ran out of parts to work on by Wednesday morning. Bill comes down to our section around lunchtime with this announcement. He tells everyone that due to the scheduling mix-up, we all have to start our vacation immediately, like today, and then come back half a week early so the machines would be ready. Everyone's just standing there with their mouths open. People had flights booked, hotel reservations, family reunions planned, and Bill's acting like this is no big deal. All my coworkers are shuffling their feet and looking at each other, but nobody wants to speak up because this guy has a reputation for firing people who argue with him. That's when I decided I'd had enough of Bill's attitude. I looked right at him and said, "Well, Bill, I don't have any plans to leave the country, but I do have several things booked that I'd have to cancel. And others here probably have real vacations planned that they can't change without losing money. What kind of compensation is the company offering for that?" He just stared at me like I'd asked him to solve calculus. "Well, nothing," he said. So I smiled and said, "Well, Bill, in that case, if you give nothing, I'm afraid you get nothing. I'm going on vacation exactly when I plan to." The whole section was trying not to smile. Bill's face went through about 5 different colors before he stormed off again. We all went on vacation, according to our original schedule. And when we came back, somehow the machines were moved and ready to go anyway. Bill never spoke directly to me again after that. But honestly, it was worth it just to see his face when I stood up to him.